Here it is, Edwardsville Rotary Criterium 2025, Category 5 Men's Race. This is my first actual Cat 5 and my third official crit race. I did those two in Indy. They were both Cat 4 and 5, and I got pulled from the course in 10-11 minutes. This Cat 5 race, it was a field of 14 people starting off, and it was hot. I haven't ridden in this kind of heat in many, many years because I tend to avoid riding in this kind of heat. Now, the temperature says 106 degrees on my Wahoo. That's not quite accurate. I think it's because we were sitting in the sun. But it was 96, 97 degrees that afternoon and straight sunshine, so it was really hot. My computer turned off right before we started, and so the time I got restarted, there's a little squiggle in the course track you could see there. That was the satellite tracking me, I think. But it started right as I got going. That's why the power wasn't on immediately at the start there. My GoPro was rear facing and I had my 360 camera up front. The GoPro was in one of those little protective cases which turns into a little greenhouse. So my GoPro overheated and shut down after about 10 minutes into this race. I didn't realize it until afterwards, of course. It's just a side effect of the heat, I guess. So I'm used to gravel racing and having my stuff protected with cases. I guess on a straight road crit race like this, I could have just had the GoPro out and attached straight to the bike. Anyway, that guy in the blue just took off. His name, I think, is Nicholas, and I met him. Well, I rode against him at the two races I did in Indy, so I chatted with him at the start line, had a good chat, caught up a little bit, and we both fussed about Indy combining the Cat 4 and 5 groups together, so I guess it wasn't just me that was not pleased about that. Anyway, he's taking a little flyer first lap. This was so hot. Even my warm-up, I had to pull back a little bit because I was getting kind of overheated just doing my warm-up routine, which is about 22 minutes. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. Really, I would never ride in this kind of heat on my own, but here we are, the big race for me. And not the big race, but, a race that I was hoping to do well in, at least hoping to feel good for it. Like I said, 14 people starting off, and we just finished our first lap. And it's a fun course. The Edwardsville Rotary and the city of Edwardsville really turn out for this thing. This was really fun. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of people there yet, but it sure gets pretty busy into the evenings. And it is a huge party once the sun sets and the pros start coming out, the bands are playing, and the beer is flowing, and the food is being consumed. And just a really neat event. I would go to this again in a heartbeat. If I go to this again, I live about 2 hours from here. I drove to it and then drove home. I stayed and watched the men's Cat 3. A friend of mine was competing in that. But, if I do this again next year, I'll probably stay that night so I can stay and watch the pros race, because the pro women kicked off about 8:30 and the pro men were around 9:30. But boy, what a party it was by that time of night. They had lights everywhere. It was really a neat setup. So well done to Edwardsville Rotary as well as the city of Edwardsville. Yeah, you see a guy taking a drink there. That first lap, my mouth was completely bone dry. I've never had that on a ride before. I mean, just putting in the effort on those hot temperatures. I'm just not made for that anymore. I'm in my 50s now. I just can't handle the heat like I used to. You see the thermostat on my Wahoo's coming down, but really 96, 97 degrees was the temperature. So, my max heart rate this year, I think I hit 182 at one of our practice crits a few weeks ago. So, sitting up in the upper 160s, I'm doing okay. But once I get into the 170s, I'm starting to get pretty close to my max. And I started to feel a little nauseated because of the temperatures. Oh, we pulled them back. So I'm going to show you probably the first 10 minutes, and then I'll do some cuts after that because it kind of thins out a little bit. But this was a good race. I felt this was, Cat 5. This felt like Cat 5. There were some young people they were strong bikers. There was some okay skills in here. I never saw anything too sketchy. The guy in the very beginning, if you saw him in the banana shirt and the green helmet, yeah, he took off kind of fast, but by his clothes and his sitting position, I was curious if he was going to maintain that pace. And we passed him, and we ended up lapping him several times, and they didn't pull him off. I was a little surprised, but I guess because it's a small field, they weren't pulling people off out of the Cat 5 group, which is fine with me. I've got no problem with that. He presented no hazard and stayed to the inside most of the time. But anyway, kudos to him for getting out there and going for it, just like all of these guys. I don't know how many races they have under the belts, but this is my third official crit. This course was really fun, really interesting and fast. I guess I'll commentate on the course as we get back to the start line. Well, I'll just start here. Yeah, this kind of goes downhill And this is into the sketchiest corner of all of them. You'd think that one before that with that sharp curve was the sketchiest one, but that one wasn't scary at all. It's this one here where you go downhill, you're carrying a lot of speed on this wide stretch of road, and then narrows into this little uphill here. And you really have to be confident and hit that thing right. I would not want to go through that side by side with anybody, and I don't think I ever had to. I think we avoided that just because everyone was a little cautious on that corner. No, we weren't riding brakes or anything, but we were just, I think, aware that that was the most hazardous corner of the course. So here we are coming up the finish straight, and you can see that it's pretty calm winds. Slight headwind coming up the finish straight here. And there's some teams in here, and I think we're going to see a little team action coming up. You know, I wanted to be in the front towards the beginning, but I didn't really plan on staying there. Yeah, so there's some teammates calling his friend up there. They put in a little bit of a dig, and I just wasn't really ready to respond. I put in some watts, but they were putting in more. And my heart rate's 172, so I'm getting up there a little bit. As you go through that finish straight, it's kind of flat, maybe falls flat that first part of it, and then once you get past the line, it kicks uphill slightly, very slightly, but it's enough after that little hill you got to pop up that it really gets the heart rate getting up to high. 177 heart rate, and again that's a combination of fatigue and the heat. Like I just can't handle these high temperatures very well. So you know, I wasn't afraid to pull the plug if I started to really feel bad. This was borderline. If this thing would have been 5 minutes longer, I might have really had to slow it down to stay in it, because our race was only 25 minutes, so I think that's the only reason I was able to stay in it the whole time. So those guys are getting away, there's 3 of them, and I really don't have the ability to respond at this point just because it's so hot and my heart rate's getting high. Let's see here. This was a good place to pass coming down that hill. I did some passing there, got a little pass once in a while. You didn't have to brake around that. I would kind of pull the slack on my brakes, but I never really braked around that. Never really felt the need to. But if I was going 35, I could see being a little more scared of it. Yeah, so it's time for me to sit back a little bit and take a short break is what I'm hoping for. But they're picking up the pace as we go through the finish straight. Yeah, he says, come on. I say, I'll try. Look at my heart rate. Yeah, so for me, that's pretty high, especially on temperatures. Oh, there's the guy in the banana shirt again. Cruising along. Yeah, big, wide, sweeping turns for the most part. Roads are beautiful. Yeah, I'm really starting to struggle now. Just, again, it was the temperatures. If it was a little cooler, I think I could have done a little better. I'll tell you my numbers for this race right here. So my average power was 215. My weighted power was 227. And again, it's a 25-minute race. Average heart rate 166. Max heart rate 177. And average speed was 22.5. Yeah, right here we're going uphill slightly. I don't know if you can see it, but it's slightly uphill. But it's fairly... It's not very long, right? It only takes you 5, 6, 7 seconds to get up that. And then downhill, and then that little steep uphill. Steepest uphill on the course. I wouldn't call it steep by hill standards. And you can see the clouds looming in the distance. And after this race, there was a women's race, I think, and then there was the Cat 4-5 men's race that I was going to do, that I was signed up for. And what happened during that women's race is some lightning started striking in the area, and those storm clouds got closer. So they cut their race short, kicked everyone off the course for about 15-20 minutes, and then we lined up for the 4-5 race. And the temperature was like 20, I don't know, around 20 degrees cooler, and it was cloudy. So it felt much better. Boy, at the end of this race, though, I really felt bad. I probably sat for 10 minutes at the back of my car. I had a cooler full of ice water. You know, I had a big bag of ice, and so I was just dumping that over me, just trying to cool down. I felt shaky for about 10 minutes, but I started getting some carbs in me and some electrolytes, and I started perking up. By the time I got to the start line of the 4-5, I started to feel pretty good again. Yeah, so what happens is the 3 of us here, we end up working together for pretty much the whole rest of the race, taking turns, you know, half a lap at a time about. and we worked pretty well together. We realized we weren't going to catch the leaders, and we probably weren't going to get away from each other because we were about the same level. But the whole time I'm keeping a secret, and that's that I'm not a very good sprinter. It's not that I can't sprint. And when my legs are feeling good, I can do 1,000 watts, or I think I've hit 1,100 this year. It's when I'm fatigued that I really don't have the ability to pop off a big sprint. So realizing that I'm going to be with these guys probably till the end, I'm starting to think about what I'm going to do, because I have no idea what their sprint abilities are, but I'm sure it's better than mine. That's just me thinking through it. Yeah, what a fun course. That was a fun day. I had a blast. I was glad I did both races too. I would have regretted if I didn't at least try that 4 or 5 race. You can see the clouds are starting to come in, but the temperature is still pretty high. Yeah, that corner, you can take it full speed. Could you clip your pedals there? I'm sure you can. I watched a video from a couple years ago. Guy clipped his pedals right there, and had a pretty good spill, and was out of the race after that. So you can. I never felt like I was close. I didn't pedal at right at the apex of it, but I was able to pedal into it and pulling out of it. Yeah, there's that fast downhill. Oh, there's Banana Shirt guy again. He stuck with it. It was funny being on the giving end of the lapping. I've only been on the receiving end many times, but it was interesting to be on the other side of it. See that perspective of being the one doing the passing, because I normally don't experience that. Yeah, downtown Edwardsville. What a fun day. Gosh, this was a blast. For me overall, it's not about whether I get in the podium that determines if I'm having fun. It's the preparation, it's the discipline, it's all the stuff required, it's the planning. Like, all that stuff is what I really like. And then if I did everything right and I put in my best effort, then I'm happy with it. So I had a lot of fun in both these races at Edwardsville. I'd encourage anyone thinking about crits, if you're in the area, this is a great place to start. Fancy 360 camera action for you. Yeah, so here we are, just taking turns, a little flick of the elbow. Smooth course. Those little brick lines going across the main street there, they were inconsequential. I hardly even noticed they were there. Little swig of water. I was doing that. After that first lap, I was drinking water. And you'd think, why would you drink so early? But boy, was that was something else. I never felt my mouth get that dry that fast. That's that sharp corner. All right, gonna pass the mic. Guy in blue was fearless on those turns. I was in awe how fast he took the turns. I mean, he really just ripped through those things. Fearless. Pretty impressive. Oh, there's Banana Shirt. And we got another lap traffic coming up here. There it is, final lap, and I'm still in it. That was a new feeling. Since in India I got pulled twice in a row. So now I'm really thinking, okay, I'm going to have to do something earlier if I want to have a shot at getting away from these guys, because it's probably not going to be at the sprint line, at a sprint finish. Looking down, given the signs that he looks tired. But is it real? I don't know. We'll see. I don't mind bluffing people sometimes if I have to. But he was letting off a little bit. Was he playing possum? We'll see. So I take this turn fast, and then I put in a dig, because this is my best shot to get away. No, it's not a full sprint effort, but it's about all I had left at this point. Going through that little uphill, left turn, back in the downhill, staying on the gas. And I look up, and there's two guys that are in front of us that are playing cat and mouse. They're kind of going back and forth, and I noticed them around that last corner, and I thought, oh, there's a chance. There's a chance. Can move up a couple of spots. If only I was a good sprinter. And let's see, here's the finish line. Here we go. They get into their sprint. My buddy takes off next to me. Looks good, looks fast, and I look around and like kind of by myself, so I have to settle down. That's all I got. Heart rate's near its max. Feeling kind of queasy. Yep, that was it. Fun event, fun day for the Cat 5 race. I also did some recording for the Cat 4-5, so hopefully I'll put another video up with commentary on how that went. But if you're thinking about crit curious, as it were, you should check this race out if you're in the Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky region. Fun event, and like I said, next year if I do this, I'll probably get a hotel that night so I can hang out, have a little drink maybe, and watch the pro women and the pro men racing under the bright lights. Good job, Edwardsville. I enjoyed it. I plan to go back in next year. Thanks for watching.